Hello friends, welcome to Programming Concepts. My name is Amit and this is part 9 of ASP .NET Core MVC tutorial. In this video, we will talk about how to deal with static files in ASP .NET Core. This is continuation of part 8, Middleware Extension Method. So please watch it before proceeding to this one. I shared the link in the description. So when we say deal with static files, the question which might come to your mind is, why even we are talking about static files handling? Isn't it handled automatically? But as discussed in our earlier videos, in ASP.NET Core, we have middleware, where developers have complete control over HTTP requests and responses. So you can control what to do when your application receives requests for static files. So if you go to the Microsoft website, you will see a complete separate pages devoted for static files. So let me go through with the points described in this page one by one. So the first point is serve static files. Means if request came for a static file, how our middleware will going to deal with it. So static files such as CSS, HTML, images, etc. are stored within the project's web root directory. And the default directory is content root/w3 root. So on the root, we need to create a folder and we need to name it as w3 root. But what is content root path? So to answer this, there is very important point mentioned here. The create default builder method, which we created in a program.cs file, remember, sets the content root to the current directory. So during development, my project root directory will be my content root directory. So if I run application via Visual Studio, my project folder will be my content root path. We'll talk about other live scenarios around content root maybe later sometime if possible. Okay. Let's scroll down a bit. So static files are accessible via path relative to the web root. For example, the web application project template. So here they are talking about the predefined templates available in Visual Studio for creating MVC, web API, web applications, etc. So the web application project templates contain several folders within w3 root folder like CSS, JS, lib. So we are not using any template. Remember, we created an empty project. So we need to create that structure manually. All right. And consider creating the images folder within w3 root for images. So here naming is suggested as per provided in few default templates, but you can name them as per your convenience. Obviously, w3 root is something mandatory. So we will use the same convention. So let's create them manually. And this is the project which we are working on. So right click on the project, add new folder, and let's name it w3 root, www root. So the default directory which .NET Core assume for static files is w3 root. Let's create other folders as well. So right click on w3 root, add new folder. First one is CSS. This we will use to store our style sheet. Second one is JS. So let's create another folder and let's name it JS. That will be used to store our JavaScript files. Third one is lib. So let's create that as well. And the fourth and final one is images. So let's create images folder as well. And let's populate our images folder with few dummy static files. And here is our dummy images. Let's copy and paste it into w3 root folder /images. Let's go to startup.cs file. And within configure method, delete our already created extension method for iApplication Builder. Let's create one run middleware so that we get some message from our application. And to do it quickly, let's copy from our already created extension method. Let's copy it and paste it into a startup.cs file. And let's change the message, and let's say we wanted to print it as a Terminator. Terminator full stop. And run the program by pressing Ctrl plus F5 or F5 only. So in the URL, append the image location. So /images /image1.jpg, and then hit enter or refresh the page. So you can see there is no change. Hit enter again just in case it is fetching it from the cookies. Again, no change. So no image, only message from our run middleware. That simply means our middleware is not ready to process static files. Alright, let's see what Microsoft have to say about it. Let's get back to the Microsoft page. So the default web templates calls use static file methods in startup.configuration, which enables static files to be served. Again, we are not using any template. So because we created empty project, so we need to specify use static file middleware in our configuration method section manually. Okay, so let's implement it. So within startup.cs file, let's append that middleware. So app.use static files. Let's run this program once again. Let's change the URL. So change it to /images /image1.jpg. Hit enter and you will see the image is served by our middleware. So we successfully make our middleware capable to serve static files with the help of inbuilt extension method provided by Microsoft. Next, get back to Visual Studio. And what will happen if we place images directly to W3 root folder? So let's copy and paste the image into W3 root folder. And go back to the browser, change the URL, and let's make it /image1.jpg. Hit enter, and you can see image is processed by our middleware. So use static files middleware will take care about W3 root folder and its subfolders. Next question is, what will happen if we don't want to use W3 root folder for static files? Can we handle that? And the answer is absolutely. Let's get back to Microsoft site. And here is that option. Serve files outside of webroot. So here they specify that just in case if we have a folder my static files where we want to store our images within images folder. And here is the code to implement if we want to use any other folder for static files. So let's first create similar hierarchy in a project. So get back to Visual Studio and let's create a new folder and let's name it my static files. And within my static files, we need to create another folder and let's name it images. And within images folder, let's copy one image for our testing purpose. So let's prepare our middleware to serve static files from non-W3 root folder. So use static files extension method is overloaded with different parameters. The second one accepts static file options as a parameter, and we are going to use that method only to fulfill this requirement. So let's create the object of static file options. So static file options, and let's the object name be options is equal to new static file options bracket open bracket close semicolon. Next is options.fileProvider is equal to new physical file provider, and this is present under Microsoft.extension.provider. Let's add this namespace, bracket open, path, and path is present under system.io. Let's combine this with environment.content root path. And to get the environment variable, we need to add that dependency, which is already provided by Microsoft via interface iWebHost environment. And this iWebHost environment is present under Microsoft.ASP NET Core hosting namespace. Add it. And let's name it env. So let's use that environment.content path and let's combine this with our folder name mystaticfiles. And this is the file system used to locate resources. Next is options.request path, and this is the relative request path that maps to static resources. So we are doing a mapping here and let's name it static files. And let's pass this object to our use static file method and let's run the program to see if everything is working as expected. So in the URL, let's append static files /images/image1.jpg and hit enter. So you can see the request is processed and application is working as expected. So before moving forward, let's cover something which is not covered in the Microsoft page. So let's see the steps taken by Microsoft to improve the performance of static file serving. So press F12 to capture the request in the browser and reload the page by pressing Ctrl plus F5. So once the request is sent, observe carefully. So if you can look at the status, it is 200, means everything is okay and our application is providing the image to the browser. Look at the size, it's 104 KB. Now try to reload the image by just pressing F5, not Ctrl F5. Okay, now look at the status code, it is 304. And you hover it and you will see it's 304 not modified. And if you look at the size, you will see it is 225 bytes only 225 bytes. And previously it was 104 kilobytes. And our image itself is somewhere around 100 KB. Let's confirm that. So let's get back to the images folder, right click on the image, go to properties, and you will see its size is 101 and size on disk is 104 KB. But how does it happen? So what is happening behind the scene? For that, let me take you to the slide which I have prepared for you. So what is happening behind the scene? In the browser, when browser asks provide me image1.jpg, okay, you hit enter. So this is the first request or the fresh request we can say when we press Ctrl plus F5 or when we clear cookies from our browser. So the request sent to middleware. Alright. So as this is a fresh request from the browser, we don't have any information about that image. Apart from that, we only have the URL, correct? Next, middleware will check for the image1.jpg with its metadata. And when I talk about metadata means its last modified date and maybe a few different things. Then it start validating its ETAG. Alright, so before moving forward, let's see what ETAG is. So let me take you to the browser. And in the definition, you can see the ETAG HTTP header is an identifier for a specific version of resource. It lets caches be more efficient and save bandwidth, as a web server does not need to resend a full response if the content has not changed. Additionally, ETAGs help prevent simultaneous update of resources from overwriting each other mid-air collision. So for now, just understand that ETAG is an HTTP response header. And what is HTTP response header? So whenever our application sends response back to the browser or anyone who is consuming our services, It also sends some metadata which will be used by receiver to perform some kind of task. And if you haven't seen response header in the browser yet, let me show it to you. This is really interesting. So open the browser developer window. In the header section, you will find response header. And here it is. And you can see the ETAG as well as last modified date is provided by our middleware. So our image is last modified on July 21 at this particular date and time, GMT. Okay. So let's get back to the slide. And once our middleware validate the ETAG, validate the last modified date and compare it with last modified date of the image present in a local server, it prepare and send ETAG along with the image. So the actual image data, actual bytes will be transferred to the middleware, and then middleware compose and send the HTTP request to the browser. So this is the journey of first or fresh request from the browser. Next, in case of subsequent request, because browser cached the header information and images as well, this time browser send few additional parameters in request header. Let's see that as well. So go to browser in the developer tab and let's press Ctrl F5. So in the developer tool, you will see in the header section, if modified since tag is not present here. Okay, so let's press F5, not Ctrl F5, it's F5. And you will see if modified since tag is available now. And the size of response has been reduced a lot from 100 plus KB to few bytes. Here it is. So if I go back to the slide, after validating ETAG, or you can say if modified since tag, middleware identified that image is not changed and browser already cached that file. So we don't need to send image again. We only need to send ETAG and last modified tag or date. In that way, processing is efficient, although request is still coming to our middleware. Let's prove that. Let's place a breakpoint within our middleware. So from browser, press Ctrl plus F5 and you will see request came and it is a fresh request. Again, only press F5 and you can see request still came. Only difference, we are not sending the actual data. We are only sending the metadata. All right. So you can see this works really well. But the only problem which we can think of is, in case of subsequent request, browser still sending requests to the server, to our middleware. And we know it is a static file and that will not be going to change soon. That's why we are calling them static, right? Whether it will be an image, CSS, JavaScript, HTML or any other static file. So can we tell browser, let's see Mr. Browser, this is a static file. And if you already cached that image, you don't need to send request for say next 1 minute or 1 hour or 1 day, anything, anytime duration as per your need. Is it possible? And the answer is yes, we can do that. That we will learn in our next video. So if you have any query related to content of this video, do let me know in comments. And if you found the content of this video helpful, please do not go without subscribing to this channel. Till then, thanks for watching.